The unexpected warjace never thought his life would end on a burned battlefield, but here he was, crouched behind a shattered wall, breathing smoke and ash. The sky was dark with clouds and falling debris. Somewhere beyond the ruins, soldiers were shouting orders. He tried to steady his hands, but they kept shaking. He had come here as a scout. He had never meant to fight, but the war did not care what he wanted. He wiped the sweat and dust from his face. His helmet visor was cracked, and every time he looked up, bright spots danced in his vision. Still, he forced himself to move. Someone might be alive. Someone might need help. He climbed over a fallen beam and stepped into the wreckage of what had once been a supply outpost. The ground was covered in broken weapons and armor pieces. Red stains marked the stones. He tried not to look at them. A weak sound made him stop. He turned, heart beating faster. Behind a half-collapsed wall, something moved. He crept closer, his rifle ready. When he stepped around the corner, he saw her. An alien woman lay on the ground. Her silver armor cracked open across her ribs. Her hair was dark and tangled with blood. One hand clutched a broken spear to her chest. Her eyes open, bright and sharp, and fixed on him. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then she tried to lift the spear, but it slipped from her grasp. She gasped in pain. Jace dropped to one knee beside her. "Don't," he said quickly. "I'm not your enemy." Her breathing was ragged. "Go," she whispered. "I'm not leaving you here," he said. Her gaze burned into his. "You don't understand," she said. He looked around the broken walls. "I understand you're dying," he said. She coughed, and a thin line of blood ran down her chin. "Leave," she breathed. "No," he said. He reached for her spear. He did not know why. Maybe he just wanted to help her hold it. Maybe he thought it would comfort her. His fingers wrapped around the smooth, cold shaft of the broken weapon. The moment he lifted it, something changed. A faint blue glow spread along the metal. The woman's eyes went wide. Her lips parted, but no sound came. For a heartbeat, the whole world felt still. Then the glow faded as quickly as it came. She stared at him in shock. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I don't know," he said honestly. Her hand lifted to touch his arm. Her fingers were cold and trembling. You don't know," she said again. He set the spear down and pressed a hand over the crack in her armor. "Stay still," he said. She shook her head weakly. "You shouldn't have touched it," she whispered. "It was broken," he said, confused. Her eyes filled with something like fear. "No," she said. "It was sacred." He frowned. "Sacred? You lifted a warrior's spear," she whispered. "Do you know what that means?" "No," he said. Her head fell back against the stones. "By Allah," she said slowly, "you have claimed me." His mouth went dry. "Claimed you," he echoed. "As you're bonded," she said. He stared at her. "The war, the fire, the dying soldiers, all of it felt far away." "I don't understand," he said again. Her eyes closed. "Then pray you never do," she whispered. And in that moment, he knew nothing would ever be the same. The ancient lodges, sat back on his heels, his hand still resting on the cold spear. His heart beat fast, like it was trying to break out of his chest. The woman's eyes stayed closed. For a moment, he thought she had slipped away. But then she took a slow, shaky breath. "Don't move," he whispered. Her lashes lifted. "You should run," she said softly. He shook his head. "I'm not leaving you," he said. Her gaze searched his face, as if she was trying to see if he was lying. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. "No," he said honestly. Her mouth curved in a small, sad smile. "Then you are the only one," she whispered. He frowned. "What does that mean?" She swallowed, her throat working painfully. "My name is Ashra," she said. He let the name settle in his mind. "Ashra," he repeated. She closed her eyes again. "You lifted my spear," she whispered. "I was trying to help," he said. Her breath caught. "In my people's law, that means something," she said. "What?" he asked. Her blue eyes opened. "It means you are now my chosen," she said. He felt cold all over. "I don't understand," he said quietly. "It means," she said slowly, "that my life is bound to yours." For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Then he shook his head. "That can't be right," he said. "It is," she whispered. "But why?" Her hand moved weakly, pointing to the spear. "The first warrior," she said, "made a vow. Whoever takes a warrior's spear in battle becomes their protector, and their bond." "Protector," he repeated, voice low. And mate, she whispered. His breath caught in his throat. He looked at the broken spear. It was just a weapon, cold metal, splintered wood. How could it mean so much? He turned back to her. I didn't know, he said. It doesn't matter, she said. The law doesn't care. Her eyes closed again. You can leave. She whispered. Double quotes. No, he said. Her lashes fluttered. Why? Because you're hurt, he said. And because I can't walk away. She was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Then you will be hunted, she said. By who? He asked. By my own, she whispered. They will not let me be claimed by a human. He swallowed hard. Then we'll run, he said. Her eyes opened. You don't understand, she said. Then explain it, he said. Her gaze held his, steady despite her pain. If you stay with me, she whispered, you will never be free. He thought of the smoke and fire, the screams that still echoed in his mind. He thought of the way her hand had clutched his arm, even when she told him to go. He drew a slow breath. Maybe freedom isn't everything, he said. Her lips parted, but no words came. He reached for her hand and held it gently. I'm here, he said. I know, she whispered. And for the first time since he found her, she looked almost at peace. The pursuit began. Ashera tried to sit up, but pain twisted her face. Jace moved quickly to support her, sliding an arm behind her shoulders. Slow, he said. You're hurt. Her breath came in shallow gasps. They will come, she whispered. Who? He asked. Though he already guessed. The Seekers, she said. They hunt any warrior who breaks the old vows. He looked around the ruins. Smoke still curled from the broken walls, and the air smelled of burned metal. He knew they couldn't stay here. Can you walk? He asked. Her eyes open, bright but unsteady. If you help me, she said softly. He nodded. Then hold on, he said. He slipped his arm around her waist. She was lighter than he expected, her body weak from blood loss. When she tried to stand, she swayed against him. Breathe, he whispered. She closed her eyes, her hand tightening on his armor. Together, they moved out of the broken wall and into the open courtyard. The ground was scorched black, littered with fallen banners and cracked weapons. Ashera looked around, her expression tight. This was once a place of honor, she murmured. I'm sorry, he said. It is not your fault, she said quietly. War destroys everything. He didn't have an answer to that. He just kept moving, one careful step at a time. A sound cut through the quiet, a high, pulsing tone that made the hair on his neck rise. Ashera stiffened. They're near, she whispered. He turned toward the far side of the courtyard. 3 dark shapes stepped from the smoke, tall and silent. Their armor was black as midnight, marked with red symbols he didn't know. Ashera's hand slipped into his. Double quotes. Go, she said. No, he said firmly. Her eyes met his. You don't understand, she whispered. They will kill you for touching me. Then they'll have to try, he said. The closest figure raised a long, hooked blade. A cold voice echoed across the courtyard. Return the warrior to us. Jace shifted his grip on Ashera, keeping her behind him. No, he called back. You claim what is forbidden. The voice said. Double quotes. I claim nothing, he shouted. I only saved her. Ashera's voice was soft behind him. Jace, she whispered. He glanced back at her. You did more, she said quietly. I don't care, he said. Her eyes searched his face, something bright and painful in them. The figure stepped closer. The leader lifted the blade high. Last warning, he said. Jace looked down at the broken spear in his hand. He hadn't even realized he had picked it up again. But when he did, a low hum shivered through the air. The red symbols on the enemy's armor flared bright. The leader froze, eyes fixed on the glowing spear. He carries the bond, one of them hissed. He cannot, the leader snarled. He does, the other said. Ashera's fingers tightened on his arm. Jace, she breathed, listen to me. He didn't look away from the enemies. What? If you run, you might escape, she said. I'm not leaving you, he said. Her voice shook. You don't have to protect me. He turned to her, his heart steady for the first time. I want to, he said simply. Her lips parted, and for a second, she looked like she might cry. The leader of the Seekers stepped forward, blade raised. You have chosen, he said. I have, Jace said. He didn't know what it meant. He only knew he would not step back. Ashera pressed her forehead to his shoulder. Then whatever comes, she whispered, We face it together. Together, he promised. And as the Seekers closed in, he lifted the broken spear in his hand, ready to fight for her life and maybe his own. The hidden refuge of Seekers moved like shadows across the burned courtyard. Their black blades caught the weak light of dawn. Jace held the broken spear in both hands, his heart loud in his ears. He felt Ashra's breath on his shoulder. She did not speak, but he could feel her fear. He tried not to show his own. The leader lifted his hand, signaling the others to spread out. Give her to us, he called. Never. Jace shouted back. The Seekers did not hesitate. They rushed forward in perfect silence. Jace stepped in front of Ashra, swinging the spear like he had been trained with other weapons. The first Seeker struck low, aiming for his legs. He twisted away, feeling the blade slice air beside his knee. The second came from the right, and Jace swung the spear's broken tip across the helmet, knocking the attacker back. He had no time to think, only to move. The leader came last, faster than the rest. His blade crashed against the spear, nearly ripping it from Jace's hands. Ashra cried out. Jace gritted his teeth, shoved back hard, and drove the spear forward. The tip struck the leader's chest plate with a flash of blue light. The Seeker staggered, armor smoking. Run! Jace shouted. Ashra grabbed his hand instead. This way, she gasped. She pulled him toward a narrow doorway, half buried in rubble. He didn't argue. They slipped inside as another blade slammed into the stone behind them. The old door fell shut, blocking out the noise for a moment. Jace leaned against it, breathing hard. Ashra pressed a hand over her side, where her armor was cracked. You shouldn't have stayed, she whispered. He reached to touch her cheek. I couldn't leave, he said. Her eyes glistened. I don't know what this bond will do, she said softly. Then we'll learn together, he said. She looked down, her voice trembling. I am not someone meant for this, she said. You are to me, he said simply. Her lips parted, but no words came. He took her hand, feeling her cold fingers wrap around his. Where does this passage lead? He asked. To a place no Seeker will enter, she whispered. Why? Because it is sacred, she said. He nodded. Show me, he said. She turned away, guiding him deeper into the shadows. The corridor was narrow and smelled of old stone. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls as they passed. At last, the path opened into a chamber with a domed ceiling and walls covered in ancient carvings. In the center stood a tall stone pedestal. Ashra let go of his hand and walked to it. She rested her palm on the worn surface. The carvings lit up in soft blue lines. Jace watched in quiet wonder. This is a refuge? He asked. She nodded. No blade can cross this threshold, she said. Then we're safe for now, she whispered. Her shoulders slumped as if the weight of everything finally reached her. Jace walked closer. Sit, he said gently. She hesitated, then lowered herself to the floor beside the pedestal. Her face was pale. He sank down next to her. For a while, neither spoke. They listened to the faint hum of the old place. Finally, she looked at him. You don't know what you've done, she said again, voice low. Maybe not, he said, but I know what I'm doing now. What? She whispered. I'm staying, he said. Her eyes closed, and she let out a long breath. And for the first time, she did not argue. The enemy's trapped chamber felt quiet, almost like a place where time could not enter. Soft blue light glowed in the carvings on the walls. Jace sat with his back against the pedestal. Ashra rested beside him, her head lowered. For a while, they said nothing. He thought maybe she had fallen asleep, but when he looked closer, he saw her eyes were open, watching the lights. You were never meant to find me, she whispered. He turned to her. I don't think fate cares about plans, he said softly. Her mouth curved in the faintest smile. My people would say this is a curse, she said. What do you say? She looked down at her hands. I don't know, she whispered. He reached for her fingers. They were cold, but she did not pull away. Tell me, he said gently. Her breath shook. When I was a child, I was taught to believe that our laws were sacred, she said. The spear, yes, she said. To hold a warrior's spear is to claim their life. He nodded slowly. You never wanted that. Not this way, she whispered. Her eyes lifted to his. Not with a stranger. He held her gaze. Am I still a stranger? He asked. Her mouth open, but she had no answer. The quiet stretched between them. until a soft sound reached his ears like a distant scrape of metal. He stiffened. "Did you hear that?" he asked. She looked past him, her eyes narrowing. "They found us," she breathed. "I thought you said no blade could cross this place." He said, "No blade can," she whispered. "But they don't need blades." He helped her stand. Her legs trembled, but she stayed upright. "Where do we go?" he asked. Her hand pressed to the pedestal. Blue light flared under her palm, and part of the wall slid open to reveal a narrow passage. "Through here," she said. He didn't argue. He took her hand, and together they stepped into the darkness beyond the secret door. The passage was cold and smelled of old dust. He could feel her leaning against him, her strength fading. He kept moving, trying not to think about the shadows behind them. When they reached the end of the tunnel, a small chamber opened. In the center stood a low platform. Asherah looked at it with something like dread. "What is this place?" he asked. "An oath chamber," she whispered. He frowned. "Oath. If the Seekers corner us," she said softly, "they will try to break the bond." "What happens then?" "They will kill me," she said simply. His stomach turned cold. "No," he said. "There is only one way to keep the bond safe," she whispered. "Tell me," he said. Her eyes lifted, bright and scared. "You must choose," she said. "Choose what?" Her voice was barely a breath. "To accept the bond," she said, "or to end it." He stared at her, feeling the old walls press close around them. "What happens if I accept?" he asked quietly. "Then no one can break it," she whispered. "And if I don't?" Her gaze fell. "Then I must return to them," she said. He stepped closer, lifting her chin with his hand. "Asherah," he said. Her eyes met his, shining. "I choose you," he said softly. Her breath caught, and in that moment, the oath chamber glowed with a light he could not understand, but somehow knew was theirs. The last stand blue light of the oath chamber wrapped around them, soft and warm. Asherah stood frozen, her hand still in Jace's. For a moment, she looked too shocked to breathe. You chose," she whispered. "Yes," he said simply. "Do you understand what it means?" "I don't care," he said. Her eyes filled with something that looked like hope, but before she could speak again, the ground shook under their feet. The chamber door burst open with a crash. Dust and broken stone fell around them. The Seekers stepped inside, their black armor shining in the blue light. The leader lifted his blade, pointing it at Asherah. "You have broken our law," he said coldly. She did not look away. "I have," she said. The leader turned his gaze to Jace. "You will die for this," he said. Jace tightened his grip on the broken spear. "Maybe," he said, "but not today." The Seekers moved forward in perfect silence. Asherah stepped in front of Jace, even though her body was trembling. "I will not let you harm him," she said, her voice steady. "You cannot protect him," the leader hissed. She lifted her chin. "He is my chosen," she said. The leader raised his weapon. "Then you will die together." Jace felt something break loose inside him. He stepped to her side, holding the spear ready. "Asherah," he said softly. She looked at him, her blue eyes bright. "Yes, if we fall, I'm glad it's with you," he said. Her breath caught, but she nodded. "That we stand together," she whispered. "Together." He promised. The Seekers charged. The leader swung his blade low, aiming to end it fast. Jace blocked with the spear, feeling the shock run through his arms. Asherah moved with him, striking at the second Seeker with her bare hand. A pulse of blue light burst from her palm, throwing the attacker back. The third Seeker lunged for Jace's side. He twisted away, but the blade caught his armor and tore it open. Pain flared hot across his ribs. He gritted his teeth, refusing to fall. Asherah cried out, her hand reaching for him. He caught her wrist, pulled her close. "Don't stop," he gasped. Her eyes were wide with fear. "Jace, we end this," he said. She swallowed hard, then nodded. She turned to face the Seekers again, her hands glowing with the same blue light that had filled the chamber. The leader stepped forward, his blade raised high. "Your bond is worthless," he spat. "No," Asherah said, her voice calm. "It is everything." She lifted her hand. Light blazed around her fingers, brighter than any sun. The leader lunged, and Jace swung the spear with all his strength. The broken tip struck the enemy's chest. For a heartbeat. Time stopped. A sound like thunder cracked through the chamber. The Seekers were thrown back in a wave of bright energy. The blue light wrapped around Asherah and Jace, warm and fierce. And then, just as quickly, the room fell silent. Dust drifted. Down in soft clouds. The seekers lay still. Asherah's shoulders slumped. She turned to him, her face pale, but unbroken. You chose, she whispered again. Yes, he said. Her hand touched his cheek. Then whatever happens next, she said. Softly, we face it together. He nodded. Together. He promised. And for the first time, he felt like he belonged to something worth fighting for. Asterisk, the bond-fulfilled chamber was quiet again. Dust floated in the blue light. Asherah's hand rested against Jace's cheek, warm and steady. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They just breathed together. After so much running, so much fear, it felt like the world had finally stopped chasing them. Jace looked around at the fallen seekers. Their armor was scorched, their weapons dim and lifeless. He turned back to Asherah. Is it over? He asked quietly. Her blue eyes searched his face. For now, she said. He swallowed. What happens to us? Her hand fell to her side. The bond cannot be broken now, she said softly. He nodded, and that means, she lifted her chin. It means you are my chosen, she said. Her voice was steady, though he heard a tremor behind the words. For how long? He asked. Her gaze did not waver. For life, she whispered. He let the truth settle in his heart, and he realized he did not feel fear anymore, only something warm and sure. Asherah stepped closer. In my people's law, she said, when a bond is fulfilled, it must be witnessed. Witnessed by those who remain, she said. Her eyes lifted to the carvings glowing on the walls. By the old ones who first made this law. He watched her place her palm on a pedestal again. The blue lines flared bright, almost blinding. A soft voice echoed through the chamber in old language he could not understand. But Asherah closed her eyes, breathing steady. When the light faded, she looked at him. It is done, she said simply. That's it. Her lips curved in a tired smile. You expected more? He almost laughed. Maybe, he admitted. She reached for his hand. Jace, she said softly. You saved me. You saved me first. He said. Her eyes brightened. Then maybe we save each other, she whispered. He took a step closer, pressing his forehead to hers. For the first time, he let himself feel everything: relief, fear, hope. He thought about the war, the old hatreds, the rules meant to keep them apart. And he knew none of it mattered anymore. Not here. Not with her. So, what now? He asked. Her voice was quiet. Now we leave this place, she said. And then we find a way to live, she said. He pulled back enough to look into her eyes. Together, he asked. Her fingers tightened on his. Together, she promised. He smiled, tired but certain. I think I'm ready, he said. She nodded. So am I. They turned to the doorway. The first light of dawn was spilling down the tunnel, washing over the ancient carvings. He lifted the broken spear one last time. This time, he did not hold it like a weapon. He held it like a promise. Asherah watched him, her face soft with something he thought might be peace. You really don't regret it, she whispered. He shook his head. Not for a second. And with the sun rising behind them, they stepped forward to warriors bound by choice, not by fear. In the quiet after war, they walked into the light together. No longer strangers, but something much stronger, chosen by each other.